Yeah, Charlie. So a noteworthy event is transpiring in the mainstream, which is surprising in itself. Jim Carrey, famous mainstream comedic actor, best known as a regular on the 90s hit TV show In Living Color, and for his many roles in a variety of Hollywood films, including Dumb and Dumber, The Truman Show, Man on the Moon, and Yes Man, has been raising eyebrows as he makes rounds on talk shows, media broadcasts, and entertainment television news magazines, spewing speech that could possibly be interpreted as Enlightenment talk. So the question is this the real thing? Is this a bit of method acting? A dramatic technique in which actors identify as closely as possible with the character they are playing by correlating experiences from their personal lives to the character, wherein the actor will often remain in character long before or after the cameras start or stop rolling? Or is he simply losing his mind and going insane? Most of the fluff in the entertainment establishment seem to be hoping for either of the latter, attributing his recent words and behaviors to either the preparation for an upcoming role or a mental breakdown due to a deep bout with depression. Wow, that's a pretty big dose of either some blissfully naive hope or disdainfully condescending cynicism, depending on which you believe. I tend to lean more towards the former theory, that the reality behind Jim Carrey has moved into lucid awareness, and that the old fake Jim Carrey is not coming back. I mean, one cannot be absolutely certain, as there's rumors that Jim is preparing for an upcoming role as Terrence McKenna in a soon-to-be-released film biop. And, of course, there was the unfortunate situation with his now-deceased ex-girlfriend, who committed suicide after a breakup marked by dark undertones, including sordid details of mental illness, prescription drugs, and STDs. But all that aside, let's listen to some of the highlights of his recent words.
I mean, is it kind of scary releasing this out into the world and just being so vulnerable and having this side of yourself and this,
No,
exposed?
because there is no me, no self. Jim Carrey is gone, actually never existed, and I know that now. So I'm able to take gigantic chances with this thing that people know as Jim Carrey. And I'm actually able to communicate in an authentic way because there's really nothing at stake. It doesn't none of it matters to me. What seems to be happening is things seem to be happening that matter to other people, or apparently matter to other people because of that or whatever. But I feel free of it. I'm free of whatever construct that appeared to be.
I woke up and I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there. It was definitely an important moment in the process where I found myself subjugating Jim Carrey for Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton, and then at the end of it looking for Jim Carrey again and having trouble finding him. And at a certain point I realized, hey, wait a second, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, who the hell is Jim Carrey? And there was this Spielbergian kind of rack focus at that point where, like Roy Scheider on the beach, where I was kind of watching from another place. And there's been a series of kind of awakenings I've had in my life, and people chalk it up to depression and all that stuff. I think that grief and sadness and all those things are the ticket home to nothing. I think that was a part of the process. There's been several other awakenings, and yet still I have a lot of egoic attachments that pull my attention and focus.
You said you've kind of disassociated yourself with Jim Carrey, but does everyone, when we see your face, there's so many iconic roles and so many of our favorite movies, from Eternal Sunshine, Dumb and Dumber, and everything.
That has nothing to do with Jim Carrey.
That has nothing to do with Jim Carrey.
Nothing at all to do with Jim Carrey. That's just what happened. I look back at it and I see something beautiful that rose out of nothing and happened for no one. It just was.
Like, it was almost like every 6 months to a year we saw this like huge Jim Carrey comedy. Do you miss that?
No, honestly, there's nothing but this. You're my universe. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking forward and I'm not looking backward, and I'm not, the aspect of this that's backward to me is like a contemporary thing. What's good about this movie? It's not a look back. It's a contemporary concept. It's what's happening right now inside everybody. Is they're going, who am I? And they're depressed. A lot of people, because they're trying to hold up an image in the world. And that's what depression is. People go like, oh, Jim's been depressed and stuff. Well, yeah, I was depressed when I was trying to be the Wizard of Oz instead of the sweaty guy behind the curtain. But now I know that Oz is a character, and I think everybody deals with that. Everybody walks around and they go like, why am I depressed? Well, it's because you're trying to be something for the world. And as soon as you let that go, better things happen.
How's life? Everything good?
It's so beautiful. It really is, especially when I'm absent from it.
Do you feel like you're separated from the rest of the world and what's going on?
No, not separated at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey is a great character, and I was lucky to get the part. But I don't think of that as me anymore.
You don't? Not at all?
Not really, no. I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy.
I think we got a little taste of that just a moment ago, yeah. And does the beard have anything to do with that?
Well, here's the thing. The beard, yes. Everywhere I go, people talk about the beard. They go, what are you doing? Why are you growing a beard? Why are you growing a beard? It's like they can't really think about anything else. It's just not, cohesive. There's something different about me, and it's that damn beard. And wherever I show up, it becomes the story,
Right.
It's a bigger star than me at this point.
Mm-hmm. And is that good?
It has its own Twitter.
It does?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. Thank God it likes me.
Maybe it'll be president one day,
Exactly. Well,
that's the first step
now, right? But yeah, it's just weird. And I always say it's the question is not why are you growing a beard. The question is why am I growing a beard and still shaving my balls? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. No, you're right. It really
doesn't.
As an actor, you play characters, and then if you go deep enough into those characters, you realize that your own character is pretty thin to begin with, you know? And then you suddenly have this separation and go, well, who's Jim Carrey? Oh, he doesn't exist, actually. There's just a relative manifestation of consciousness appearing, and then somebody gave him a bunch of ideas. They gave him a name and a religion and a nationality, and he clustered those together into something that's supposed to be a personality. And it doesn't actually exist. And none of that stuff, if you drill down, is real. You know, things are happening, you know, and they're going to happen whether I attach myself as an ego to it or not. You know, there's grooves that are cut pretty deep, you know, from my entire life. There's still an energy that wants to be admired and wants to be clever, and there's still an energy that wants to free people from concern, and now it goes further. I want to, you know, kind of relate what this is to people so that maybe they can also kind of glimpse the abyss.
Does that make you a person who's more at peace with yourself as you don't exist? If I can put it in your own construct.
Doesn't make me a person, but
does it make you?
There is
peace.
Yeah, there's peace, and there's gratitude, and there's wonder, and there's excitement, and all of it is happening and rising out of nowhere and happening for no one.
Chris, how did you collaborate on the film? I got it. No, that's wonderful.
But how do we market it?
So what do you make of all this? Is Jim Carrey the first mainstream figure to have undergone an awakening? Has Jim lost his mind and gone crazy? Is this about creating distractions to ameliorate his image? Or is he simply getting into character for his next movie? All of the above? Time will tell. And I know that some of you may be a bit surprised by the topic of this video, as it's not very often that we delve into the shallow waters of the mainstream. But the specifics of the circumstances fall into the general range of the channel's usual subject matter. The real self behind this persona seems to have undergone a liberation from the character known as Jim Carrey. A lot of people cannot make this distinction and get confused. They'll say things like, Jim Carrey has awoken, or Jim Carrey has left the Matrix. But this idea doesn't follow. There is a lot of difficulty in grasping this. People talk about reaching enlightenment, or that they hope enlightenment happens to them. But it's these types of thoughts that prevent an awakening. As it isn't about a character reaching a destination. Enlightenment isn't an existential configuration that happens to a persona. And Jim's words seem to reflect this nuance. Indeed, it's these kinds of words that might lead one to believe that there is authentic lucidity actually taking place. The real-life circumstances of the character, Jim Carrey, probably played a significant role in this enlightenment. But what has awoken isn't Jim Carrey. More accurately, there has been a liberation from Jim Carrey. So why does any of this matter? Well, for the metasage and the philosophy of pure potentialism, this is a significant event, as it signifies the first time in our recent world's make-believe history that an imaginary major mainstream figure has spoken words resembling the truth. Holy shit. Damn. I hope they don't destroy him. I mean, with the beard and the scars of old age and all the cryptic language, you just know they want to label him a madman. I'm sure that most of the mainstream herd is rooting for depression or mental illness, or maybe even drug abuse. Anything but to contemplate what he's alluding to with those words. Isn't that right, Shelley?
Well, look, Sam, I've done my fair share of awkward red carpet interviews, that is for sure. But Jim Carrey is sending the internet into a spin this morning. The actor attended an Icons party for New York Fashion Week, and the reporter was left gobsmacked by his antics. It does really need to be seen to be believed. Here it is in its cringeworthy entirety.
Hey, Jim Carrey. Yes.
What?
I've covered a lot of fashion weeks. This is the first time I've run into Jim Carrey. Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're celebrating.
You got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons.
in
Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry? You're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha! Yeah. You shut her down now. Yeah, no, I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No, I didn't.
Was that an accident?
I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream?
There's just things happening. And there are
Credit there to Kat Sadler from E! News, who handled that pretty well, I think. Maybe an existential out-of-body experience, perhaps, for Jim Carrey, or something else interfering with his mind.
Well, look, he maybe should have stayed home that night, made a good cheese sandwich.
His eyes look very clear, though. He doesn't look as though he's
under the influence or something.
Yeah,
he's pretty kooky. But if you interview those kooky actors, you have to go into it knowing that he could go off the rails.
That's right, Charlie. Dude, to get ready for his role as Terrence McKenna, Jim Carrey dove headfirst into DMT, dude. And he's never been the same since. Better that than to consider his words seriously. Healthy people don't talk like that. It's cringeworthy, am I right? Please force him into rehab and don't let him out until he's back to being the same old rubbery slapstick clown we all know and love. We don't like this new Jim Carrey. He's not welcome. Turn him back the way he was, even if you have to bend him against his will. Do it, or we'll slander and shame his character with unsavory insinuations. Do it. Do it. So if it's true that Jim Carrey is woke as fuck, this is a great omen for humanity. If we can have someone as high status as Jim Carrey speaking the truth, it means that there's a greater chance of enlightenment for all consciousness. You see, he's able to reach right into the orifice of mediocrity and orate to the mainstream's inaccessible grazing herd. and, for the first time in their lives for many of them, expose them to the truth. And most of them don't like it, because they can't digest it. No more than a 6-month-old baby could eat and digest a 3-pound hot pastrami on rye with spicy mustard. But hey, you gotta start somewhere. But that's why many people will have cynical reactions, as they have no clue as to what any of this alludes. Oh, Jim Carrey is a rich man. He has the luxury of letting go and acting irresponsibly. The rest of us have to go to work and struggle to make ends meet. That is like one of the biggest justifications for spiritual laziness that I have ever heard in my entire life. Now, you know, I don't quote from the Bible often, and with good reason. But there's one verse that is apt as a response to this assertion, and it's Matthew 19:23-26, the eye of the needle, in which Jesus said, quote, "I tell you the truth, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." Unquote. Yeah, most of the Bible is full of shit, but there are still occasionally proverbs, nuggets of wisdom, or kernels of truth to be found scattered throughout. And this is one of those cases. It is much easier for a stoic man who has nothing to lose by self-sacrifice than it is for a self-indulgent man who has everything to lose by self-sacrifice. And by easier, I mean less attachments as a heavy burden weighing us down. So stop contriving reasons for your procrastination and your fear of letting go. You have it much easier than Jim Carrey. He has so much more to lose. So what's your excuse? As if there's something else to do here than free your mind and awaken. There is no greater cause. There is no higher ideal. So I congratulate the spirit that has transcended Jim Carrey. If awakening is authentic, it's a welcome calling card to the philosophy of pure potentialism.